Great news just in from rangers at Richard Underwood Nature Refuge near St George, Queensland. The first baby wombat in a second colony has been captured on our wildlife surveillance cameras. Mum and Joey are out and about feeding around the burrow number 2, part of a new colony of endangered northern hairy-nosed wombats aimed at conserving the species in the wild. The Joey is thought to have been conceived in November 2010. Rangers' first observation of the mother carrying a pouch young was seen after examining video footage in January this year. The Joey here is approximately a year old and will wean off mother's milk diet within the next few months to eat grass. It is approximately 5 to 6 kilos in weight and will stay with mum for another 12 months. Mum weighs approximately 30 kilograms and is in excellent condition thanks to good seasonal rain and food availability. Mum spent several months with Dad in burrow number 12 and recently left to find a new burrow to rear her young Joey. More good news is that a second mother, who occupies a neighbouring burrow, is carrying a pouch young as well. This Joey will emerge before the end of the year. The two mothers have been observed hanging out together and feeding around burrow 2. Dad, seen here, is a male that gets around. He is now exhibiting the same friendly behaviour to another female. Hopefully, this female will also become pregnant and will produce offspring for the colony. Since 2009, 15 wombats have been translocated to Richard Underwood Nature Refuge by rangers for the new colony.
The weaning and growing to maturity. The northern hairy-nosed wombat can live up to a period of 2 years in total with its mother, depending on the sex. Males usually leave sooner than females. Some mothers may even force their Joey to leave. The average breeding age would be 3, but a male can breed at 2, whereas a female is usually 3. The northern hairy-nosed wombat usually breed and give birth during the wet season, November to April. On average, there are 2 Joeys every 3 years. These figures are with ideal conditions. Breeding is very low in occurrence as the area they live in is very prone to drought, and they do not breed during any significant drought periods. Their current range. The only current range they have is St George in Queensland. There was formerly a populace that lived in southeast Queensland along the Moonee River. This is situated near St George and was until the year 1908. There was also seen to be another populace that lived in Delaquin, New South Wales, that was eradicated in the late 1800s. Their former range included northern Victoria, New South Wales, and most of Queensland. The only living populace resides in 300 hectares within the Epping Forest in central East Queensland. Although the land is national park and thus protected, the native grasses continue to be strangled by foreign grasses such as buffel. Their habitat. The now protected area is their current habitat, as described. The land is very flat with semi-arid grass plains and or woodlands. The climate in this habitat is very harsh and hot and has been frequent drought have been seen within the last 6 years. The average rainfall within their habitat is 575 millilitres per year. The soil desired by the northern hairy-nosed wombat is thick, deep sandy soil. This is desirable when they burrow their burrows. Factors affecting their environment. Temperature range. 0 in the depths of winter, but they usually seek shelter within their burrow when there is extreme temperatures either way, as temperatures within their habitat can also reach up to 40 plus. The climate. Warm, but they can also handle cold nights within their thick fur, and the heat does not usually affect them, as they sleep within their burrows when the weather is very warm. The rainfall. They prefer to have frequent rain, but not torrential. Where they inhabit is very dry, then occasionally they have very large volumes of rain within a short period, which is not ideal. The terrain. It is sandy and clayey, and they are the only types that they inhabit by the northern hairy-nosed wombat, as they are unable to burrow in other soil types, as they can collapse and kill the wombat and thus are not ideal, and neither is red or black soils, as they are very hard to dig through, thus unviable as burrows. Biotic factors. Northern hairy-nosed wombats have no natural predators, and thus dingoes, an introduced predator, are the only predators that are fit other than captive animals. A human threat. Deforestation, building, and introduction of the tame predators, cats and dogs, that can attack wombats and kill young. A structural feature of the wombat. The pouch. The pouch is a very good survival method for marsupials young. Their gestation is very short, and thus for the joey to survive it needs an environment similar to the womb, where it can be fed and protected from environmental factors such as temperature and climate, and also external factors such as predators. The pouch is only in female wombats. The pouch is the characteristic of all marsupials. The pouch is a developmental characteristic, as the northern hairy-nosed wombats give birth to very undeveloped joeys and thus need a strategy to allow their joey to grow and mature before being dependent upon its own body. The marsupial as a term is derived from the Latin term for pouch, marsupius. The pouch is a vital part of the northern hairy-nosed wombat, as without it the young would not survive and would inevitably die due to inability to create heat in its own body and forage or protect itself and move around adequately. The pouch itself is faced backwards to avoid getting any dirt or contaminants within it when the mother wombat is digging. Another structural feature. The northern hairy-nosed wombat has a cleft upper lip. This cleft upper lip allows the northern hairy-nosed wombat to eat grasses that are lower to the ground than other herbivorous mammals, thus allowing an advantage when foraging. This is also an adaptation to the drought-prone areas in which they reside, as it allows them to eat the smaller, healthier shoots, and thus get the best vegetation. The physical or biochemical feature. The digestive tract of the hairy-nosed wombat. The northern hairy-nosed wombat is nutritionally very poor and relative to size very small. Their diet is high in fibre and very low in protein, and this type of diet is not adequate for high-energy animals that are flight animals. As the hairy-nosed wombat does not have any natural predators, or predators that weren't introduced by humans, they do not have a bodily function for defence, but a physical feature that can serve as defence is their very large and strong claws. The northern hairy-nosed wombat has a very low metabolic rate and a very efficient digestive system to allow for maximum absorption of fodder. In accordance to the northern hairy-nosed wombat's size, it eats minimal amount of food comparative to other herbivorous mammals and also marsupials. Due to its small amount of food, it allows it to have very short foraging times. Forage travels very slowly through the digestive tract of the wombat. It takes anywhere between 8 to 14 days for the forage to travel end to end. With this slow digestion, it allows for the lack of water within the area. This allows water to be reabsorbed within the large intestine to happen very efficiently, with limiting water loss. Wombats, especially hairy-nosed variety, require at least amount of water of any other mammal. Sometimes in extremely arid conditions, when no water is available at all to the northern hairy-nosed wombat, it will extract the water needed from the plants eaten and also by licking dew from the plants in particular situations. They are similar to camels in the fact they store fat in the event of no food or water being available, and then it consumes large amounts when possible and food is plentiful. Thank you.